Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast and media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar saurians and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, LuckyEevee, Stryker, Mathmachine, and Jordan. Today is our 44th episode, and we're discussing the 2000 Courage the Cowardly Dog episode, Serpent of Evil River. So, let's get things started.
We interrupt this program to bring you Courage, the Cowardly Dog Show, starring Courage, the Cowardly Dog.
No better way to start than that.
Yeah.
How it started was John Dilworth, an animator who has done a lot of work, and all of it is very recommendable. He made an animated short called Chicken from Outer Space, and it actually was nominated for Best Animated Short at the Academy Awards, believe it or not. It didn't win, but it actually got nominated. Anyway, a couple of years later, he tried pitching his short The Dirty Birdie to Cartoon Network, but they turned it down due to apparent violent concerns. They asked if he had anything else he could make into a show, and he picked Courage, and animation history was born.
Nice,
Now, on retrospect, I mean, this is in my personal opinion, I loved Powerpuff Girls, I loved Dexter, I really loved Ed and Eddie and that, but looking back all these years later... Looking back all these years later, I feel like Courage the Cowardly Dog is probably my favorite of all the Cartoon Network shows because, you know, the others were all fantastic. Don't get me wrong. They were all really, really good. But something about Courage, it had a really unique vibe to it. And they created some really memorable and honestly beautiful episodes in it, which we definitely will get to later on in this podcast. But the thing with Courage in general is it just had a vibe to it that I don't feel any other cartoon did. Like, not even like a Billy and Mandy, another, spooky type of cartoon in that. I feel like Courage had a spooky, eerie vibe, but it also had, it combined that with really, really solid comedy and also sort of gentleness to it. But not being too gentle. It was not afraid to freak out kids. Believe me, that, the violin girl from the New York episode, I still flinch at it, and it's been like 20 plus years, and I still flinch at that scene.
Oh yeah, That's understandable.
But they could definitely go far, but they never went like over the line, I feel, with it. And as a whole, it really is a fantastic, fantastic show.
Oh yeah.
Now, the episode we're talking about today is mid-season 2, and it's actually an underrated one in my opinion. It has some really funny moments. One thing I liked about Courage right off the bat is the title cards of almost every single episode were unique, and they were all really well done in how they conveyed what the episode was going to be about or like various little things with it. And this one, of course, is the shadow of a sea serpent being surrounded by a music staff. It foreshadows what happens with the episode along with the music choice.
Nice.
This episode begins how, like a lot of them did, with the Bag family watching TV, and it's not in this episode, but a detail I always found hysterical. Whenever they were watching TV, 9 times out of 10, they were watching like some kind of a kaiju movie, like Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. It would be like always on TV there. So Weird TV has some good taste in movies. You got to give them that. But anyway, at this time, the TV is showing a commercial where a sea captain is asking the viewers if their lives are boring and mundane. The captain's design is very similar to other reoccurring characters on the show, probably the most predominant one being the Nowhere General. He kind of looks exactly like that guy, and also the captain in the Club Cats episode, and really just a lot of things. Courage reused character designs quite a lot, but they never felt like it was like out of laziness in that. It felt like it was out of like they had these designs, but they found new and interesting ways of using them.
Nice, yeah.
And of course, a good gag happens like in the first like 30 seconds of the episode. With the sea captain, tired of doing the same old chores around the house. Eustace, he's talking to me. Why would he do that? And again,
man.
Yeah, Eustace still has his original voice actor in this episode, which is nice because I preferred him to the second voice actor, even though the reason he left is because I believe the voice actor, the first one, retired or passed away, sadly, but
Indeed.
Yeah. And one thing that's interesting in this episode, too, because by this time, by mid-season 2, Courage stopped talking as much as he did in the first season. I don't think he really even says a word in this episode for the most part, and it's a change that a lot of people, you got to think about whether it was good or not. I personally didn't mind the change because I felt like it actually made him funnier in a way with the excessive babbling, but I know some other viewers got annoyed at it.
It still popped up from time to time.
Oh, no, it did, but not nearly as much as he did in like the first season where he'd do like, complete sentences and whatnot. Apparently that was a change. Exactly. And that's the line, the classic line. But apparently it was from a Cartoon Network executives, apparently. And if so, that's a change that they made that probably wasn't a completely idiotic one. So that's 1 point for network executives. Several 100,000 points minus, but, they got one on the positive sign.
Gotta inch our way up somehow.
Exactly. But yeah, there's a cute visual gag with Courage burning an iron shape into a shirt from watching the commercial for so long. And we get another good moment with Eustace not caring about the trip at all until the captain says it's free, and then he's all ready to go there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, even though this is an episode with the bags on a ship, it is not the famous "not getting out of my chair" one. I actually had to rewatch it because I thought that was in this one, believe it or not. But no, it's in the aforementioned Club Cats one.
Nope, not getting out of this chair.
Nope,
I just love it.
Out of the chair.
I think it's just so funny because just how stubborn he is. Even when the ship as a tidal wave, hits the ship and everything goes flying, Eustace is flying off in the distance and he still doesn't care.
That is
a solid comedy right there,
Yes. Oh, man. Anyway, I thought that was the episode too, but nope.
No, sadly not. But anyway, the captain, Sharky, gives them drinks as they all sail off. Muriel is so excited about being on the ship while Eustace just instantly falls asleep as soon as they leave port.
I mean, to be fair, that would after traveling a long way just to get there, that would probably be the first thing I would do too, maybe.
Same. Yeah. No, I've done a lot of traveling, and I definitely can see that.
Same.
But yeah, I as soon as they make it out to sea, Sharky removes parts of his captain's outfit, as well as I love his arm and his leg. He just rips them right off and replaces it with a hook and a peg leg, and of course he's revealed to be a pirate. And then he forces the bags to be their crew, and it's here we get another funny gag with Eustace protesting, demanding his money back. And then Sharky tells him that he didn't spend any money, and Eustace is like, "Oh, that makes sense."
Where's the cat?
Muriel is incredibly excited about being the ship's cook. Courage is supposed to be the first mate, and another really, really funny gag. Sharky basically puts Courage's mouth in his mouth like a chew toy and just shakes him all about with accompanying sound effects. And like I said, the sound effect work on this show is just really, really well done.
It's on par with Ed and Eddie, I swear.
Definitely. It really, really is at times. And yeah, in another typical plot for the series, Eustace and Muriel are oblivious to the danger that they're in, which probably was the plot of at least 60% of the episodes had that kind of thing in them. But yeah, also the gag of Courage being attacked by the seagull is a funny one. And it's one that comes up quite a bit in the episode. So it's one that
laughing at Courage. Wow.
Yeah. With the annoying thing. And he kind of looks a little bit like, I guess, the Dirty Birdie in a way. A little bit with the design. With the teeth especially, But anyway,
that checks out.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. It does.
So Courage sees the waterfall in the river as he rings the ship's bell. I love how Eustace is roasting marshmallows in the boiler's room while Muriel prepares fish. And when the ship goes over the waterfall, Eustace basically just falls in the boiler, and the fish completely covers Muriel's head. And there's another, and like I say, basically the Sharky does a pose like I'm the king of the world from Titanic, which is something that I actually had to stop to see it because it goes by so quick. It's another thing that is a gag that they didn't have to put in, but you're really glad that they did.
Did not notice that they did that.
Yeah, they did. Something that is really, really something for sharp eyes in that. So anyway, the ship then ends up in the titular Evil River with the water being blood red. And night approaches as Muriel plays the sitar, which is something I always liked. And it actually, I think, introduced me to sitar music, believe it or not.
Nice.
Was this show. But yeah, one thing that's really funny is Courage's babblings to Sharky's ramblings about the sea are just hilarious. And after doing this, Sharky then reveals Carmen, who is our dragoness for this episode. Although she's not a dragoness, I believe for the first time in this on this podcast, we have an actual sea serpent on there. Believe it or not, Nessie from Freddy FR7 and Ballad of Nessie. I mean, they technically are, but they're a little more anthropomorphized. This is just like a complete
plesiosauruses, which are not really.
Yeah, they're more dinosaurs.
Yeah, exactly. But this is like a complete, limbless sea serpent in that. Carmen has a very fierce yet appealing design. I like little touches like the angular head and the fang-like teeth make her seem threatening, which only serves to make the reveal a lot more fun, in my opinion. And, of course, she's also a Cyclops, and that's the thing with Dilworth's character designs. He can make things very, frightening looking, but also have a very nice, warm appeal to them. A good example of this is in the Bigfoot episode, which is one of my favorites, by the way. That is a hilarious one. I think all I need to say about that episode is the part with the fruit dancing. That's all I got to say. That is just that made me laugh so hard as a kid. But yeah, getting back to this one,
it's part of the psychology with Dilworth's the show that Dilworth portrayed. It's the it's the monsters are usually not as frightening as they appear.
Exactly, and that's why the show is better for it, in my opinion, because of that. It's not something. Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like I said, the show then gets a very funny scene with Courage getting a bite on his fishing rod and Sharky demanding Eustace and Muriel to help. And I love how it just cuts to Eustace screaming as he's being hung off the boat while Muriel is just smiling cheerfully at it. It's like... And of course, the bags fall into the water as Courage sees Carmen approaching him, which he lets out one of his very iconic screams, which were some of the best parts of the show. And by the way, as of the date of recording this, yesterday was Marty Grabstein, the voice actor for Courage's birthday. So happy belated birthday to him.
Dang.
This was not planned. I will say that much. I did not know about this until like a couple of minutes before recording.
We seem to have a lot of good timing with stuff like this.
We do.
Yeah, it's very weird, and a lot of it is unintentional. No, it's something that's very interesting. A lot of it is unintentional too. But anyway, Courage then takes Eustace and Muriel back to the boat, while Muriel is just excited about everything that happened to her and leaves to bake some muffins. And that's again something that's very interesting about this episode, and I'll talk a little more about it later. But right now, we're going to see more of Carmen. She leaps out of the water and runs the ship over her back, tossing into the horizon. And of course, the ship's engine is broken, causing Sharky to use more bait. And of course, he decides to use Muriel. And this is very, very interesting, especially for this episode at this point in the show. Eustace, in an extremely uncharacteristic move of his, is really concerned about Muriel's safety. Even when Sharky says, like, oh, I'm getting a big bounty for her, I'll split it all with you. Eustace is still more concerned about Muriel.
Yeah. It's like, I'm still getting me money, but are you sure it's safe?
Exactly. That's something like, if this happened earlier on in the series, you could chalk that up to them not knowing what to do with the characters and whatnot. But this late in the game, it's something very, very interesting because, like, episodes before and episodes after this, Eustace would absolutely not care the danger they were getting in. I mean, the episode with the golden hat basically was a perfect example of that.
There was also an episode where, like, their relationship was tackled and, like, Eustace's mom and whatnot. But
that was a great one.
Yeah, that was pretty good, yeah.
But, of course, one thing that Eustace is happy about is tying up Courage in the crow's nest, which is hilarious. I love it. Just like Eustace's like little smirk when he approaches Courage. It's just fantastic. Little details like that are part of what makes this show.
Ah, yes, I can finally tie the stupid dog down.
Oh gosh,
but
that reminded me of Old Yeller, and wow.
Oh god, yeah, that is a very, very different media piece featuring a dog. But yeah, one thing I noticed that was really cute, and something I didn't get on when I saw this as a kid, of course, but the part with Muriel in the diving cage being lowered in that is a spoof of in Jaws, you know? When,
nice.
Yeah, when Hooper basically goes in the cage and he's driven down, it's kind of the same thing as this. And it turns out that Carmen loves opera, so Muriel has to play has to play music and then capture her with a set of gigantic tongs, which again is something really cartoonish, but it works for the for basically how the show runs.
Honestly, it reminds me of this one American Dad episode where like Roger and Steve are trying to get like venomous snakes and like sell them for like anti-venom or something like that. And oh lordy. It cuts to a montage of Roger pretty much getting like bitten left and right by a lot of venomous snakes and like getting stuck with anti-venom and using up all the anti-venom.
Oh God!
I can definitely in the episode, Muriel was only given. She's got the cage, she's got the opera music and the tongs. Did anyone else notice when she's getting lowered down into the water? She is not wearing no goggles or a breathing tube to breathe underwater.
Yeah, no, exactly. It might be that
unless she's like
just didn't want to animate
where
one on
she's
her.
like super like
chill
like,
about it. Yeah,
it's cartoon logic.
It's exactly. Courage was a show that it never really. It had like one foot in like reality and another foot in like complete Looney Tunes antics. You know, it never was too serious, and it never was too cartoony at the same time.
Oh,
but also, if you do like a picture, if you're going to go down to a river called the Red Evil Lake or something, and you're going to catch a giant serpent with sad tongs, you're like, okay, we're going to be going down here for a very long time, and I'm going to need some oxygen. But nope, okay, this is fine.
Yep, very, very much. Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from with that. Yep. But anyway, the seagull then returns to mock Courage again, and I like how Courage remembers how the seagull pecked at him. He mocks the bird yet again, and the seagull then pecks at the rope that ties up Courage. And he then, what happens is the diving cage that Muriel's in is spat up onto the shore. And I like how Courage puts on a whole scuba suit and gear. He dives off the boat into the ocean while the seagull basically keeps pecking at him the entire time. Of course, he doesn't land in the ocean because he lands on a rock. And the seagull basically laughs at him for the third time. And it's one of those things where it's the rule of three. You know, the first time it's funny, the second time, and then the third time it really hits. And that definitely happened in this episode with that running gag.
Yep.
And then we get something that is interesting. A little bit of a thing with Eustace is he's basically stuck on the deck, shivering in that, and then he's approached and apparently off-screen kidnapped by monkeys. When this sort of stuff would happen all the time to Eustace, which I think my favorite was the one with the burglar who thought they were his family. And Muriel basically has a heartwarming speech to him, and then he says, "Isn't that right, Eustace?" And Eustace is being like mauled by a giant squirrel. And like it just cuts to Eustace screaming.
That's what you get for treating Courage like shit, you bastard.
Exactly.
Or the scene or the episode where Eustace is being a mom to two raging raccoons that want a mom.
Oh, right.
Man.
Oh, yeah. That was actually adorable.
That was a really cute one, too.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. But then Courage goes into Carmen's cave and he sees her singing to Muriel. And Carmen turns out to like music from the opera Carmen, hence the name. And I do like the little subversion that it turns out that Carmen is peaceful and she only wants to basically sing for people. And like I said earlier, this was very common on Courage with you said, a lot of it was the monsters. They're not as scary as they seem at first glance. And I also like one thing is how this introduces kids to music from the opera Carmen, that it kind of promotes culture while still being fun with it. I kind of like when they do that, you know? I'm not saying every show should do that, but when it does, it's a little nice little thing, you know?
A lot of 90s and early 2000s cartoons did this in an episode or two where they had this opera music or opera scene just interspersed into the episode. And you can tell that the director or the animators just really liked these particular operas and found a way to make it entertaining for the viewers.
Yeah.
That is a very good
also
point.
Also, Carmen Sandiego technically did that a few times. The new one, not the old one. And also circling back to the monkey thing, it reminds me a bit of like Ron and like his whole deal with freaking Camp Wannaweep and that one monkey.
Oh God, yeah. That would be something that Courage would do too, but to be honest.
Yes. Oh man.
Yeah. But yeah, it turns out that Courage sits in Muriel's lap as they listen to the music before Sharky appears again, and he attempts to attack and capture Carmen himself while Courage protects her. And this, again, really shows the cartoonish antics of Courage in that, with like Sharky having a boxing glove for a leg, and Courage getting out of Sharky's grasp and just hitting him with a pie in the face. And it really is funny. It's like these cartoon gags that, for all intents and purposes, are cliches, but yet the show does something with them that really makes it funnier, you know?
Yeah, indeed. But my only little nitpick I have is that the boxing glove just appears straight out of nowhere. Like, literally another scene, it's just there.
Yeah, but again, I feel like the cartoonish nature of it and basically by proxy the entire series, it isn't like a plot hole that you'd notice and it bugs you. It's like, oh, now he has a boxing glove. Okay. You know, I feel like it operates on that sort of logic where it's not really that big of a deal, to be honest.
Yeah. There, sweet principal. It's not that big of a deal. You're fired too, Mr. Bay. God, that will never not be funny to me. Shout out to all the Clone High fans out there.
Oh, yeah. Wait, like I say, Carmen then finishes her song and she traps Sharky with stalagmites. Carmen basically pulls the boat back to nowhere while Sharky is still tied up, and we basically get the ending of the episode, which is Eustace is stranded on a desert island and is covered with bananas while the monkeys basically leap around him. And again, it's something that just comes completely out of nowhere, like in some pun intended, haha. But still, the thing that's interesting is like some episodes would have like Eustace getting eaten by Carmen or being attacked by her, but instead something happens to him that is completely different from anything else that happened in the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty weird. And then there's this weird episode with Eustace becoming a kangaroo due to a bone transplant.
Oh, right. That is actually the episode that aired right after this one in the order. We could talk about it briefly if you want, because interestingly enough, it's an episode with transformation. We won't talk as long about that as we long about this one, but it is a hilarious one in my opinion. I just love all the little stuff. Like, really, it's actually one of my favorites, to be honest, because, again, it has all the elements that I think make a really funny Courage episode. It has the snarky British computer. Anytime I use my computer and it starts acting up, I keep thinking of that one.
Nice.
Yeah. It has the Indian doctor, which I'm not sure they would get away with today, but he's still very funny.
He's talking it. He's harmless.
There's nothing I can do. Nothing at all.
Just keep soaking it.
Yeah, exactly. It's something that it shouldn't work, but yet it does. It really, really does. And of course, it has all the antics with, Eustace and later Courage becoming like, giant prehistoric kangaroo monsters, basically. And
cool.
More of a cartoonish antics. I love when Eustace and Courage fight. They don't actually fight, They do like a painting competition, and Eustace is like a stick figure of himself, and Courage somehow paints the entire Mona Lisa. It's little things like that. Like, it also reminds me of the one with Robot Randy, where the big fight at the end is a breakdancing competition.
Yeah.
It's little things like that.
I did like the one thing about this episode is that if you're going to do a cool transformation of this episode, you should at least show more. I know that Courage only got 2 of sequence of his feet getting bigger, and that was it. I'm like,
yeah, it would have been interesting to see him, do it, but I guess maybe they were running out of time because, again, these are 11-minute episodes, so...
Even for as short as that was, I have to imagine someone, somewhere, this awoke something in them.
Oh, 100%, 100%, yes.
There's a lot of fan art of the kangaroo monster, so...
I could very easily see why. Kangaroo. I could very easily see why. I definitely...
I will send my condolences to your kangaroo wife.
I will send my condolences to your kangaroo wife.
Oh God.
Pornography.
But yeah, like I said, yeah, but like I said, it'd be nice. It's good that we briefly touched on it because it is an episode with transformation, which is also connected to an episode with a dragoness. Unfortunately, they are not connected to each other because it would be perfect, but what can you do? But yeah, Courage lasted for, I think, 3 or 4 seasons, and it ended with an extremely touching finale, Perfect, where Courage basically learns that, well, the first half of it is exploring Courage's past. We find out that his parents are basically taken from him by an evil veterinarian and launched into space. And
Yep,
that was a favorite.
Muriel finds him. Yeah, that is such a beautiful one. That Muriel basically finds him in the garbage and decides to raise him as her own in that. And
yeah, that's very.
And we also
sweet.
get a nice closure with it too by Courage finally defeating the evil veterinarian who basically caused him to be the way he was. You know, I like how it came full circle with that. And the second part of the final episode is called Perfect, and it's one that's a little more, I guess, psychological, in that Courage learns that, you know, there is no way to be perfect, that imperfections are what we are. Of course, it also gave us grade A nightmare fuel with the "you're not perfect" thing.
It was
that freaked me
at
out.
most.
That
It wasn't
freaked
too
me out as a
scary,
kid.
but it was. Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
No, it wasn't too bad, but it did scare me as a kid.
A lot of people said it was like a jump scare, and all I can think is like, why?
Yeah.
It's
It
not
never.
scary. Just why?
Yeah, it spooked me out a little bit, but it's not really, I think, scary, you know? But
Yeah.
it does have a really nice...
way scarier moments in
other episodes. Yeah, I definitely agree with
I'm
you.
a person who was not scared by the pink elephants bit and a lot of Disney stuff, so yeah, I'm pretty tough that way.
Oh, definitely. But yeah, one thing that's... I'm sorry.
No, I was just agreeing.
It's all good. But yeah, the episode has a really lovely ending, too, where basically the entire family relaxes and they all sit at the table, and even Eustace isn't opposed to Courage for once. And it really is a beautiful way to wrap up the show. I feel like, you know, the show as a whole, like, you can tell that they were canceled, but they made the most of it. It was like, you know, it wasn't like how some shows, they were cut off before they could really finish it. It felt like with Courage, they knew when to stop it. Like, even if the network said, okay, you stop at this point, they were determined to make the best ending point that they could.
Nice.
That would not be the end for Courage. Good.
Yeah, you're right. It wouldn't be the end for Courage because years later, they did a crossover with Scooby-Doo.
Before that, no, I was going to say, I'm sorry, Jordan.
And also, rest in peace to the original voice actress who did Muriel through all of this.
She passed away, I think, last year, right after Straight Outta Nowhere came out. But before that, there's one that a lot of people don't know. There was a 2D CGI mixed short. It was called The Fog of Courage. And of all people, Wallace Shawn, who best known, of course, for Princess Bride and, you know, Rex and Toy Story. You know who I'm talking about, basically.
I know what you're talking. I know what you're talking about.
Eustace in that. It was an attempt to make, I guess, a semi-revival. It was a mixture of CGI and 2D, and it's pretty cute for what it is. It unfortunately did not result in any sort of revival. I don't know if it was intended as one, but it was nice we got another short. And yeah, like you all said, last year we got a crossover with Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo meets Courage the Cowardly Dog Straight Outta Nowhere, but unfortunately, Dilworth had absolutely nothing to do with it.
Which is a shame.
Like I say, it really is a shame because it really could have benefited from his involvement in it. Because at one point, on one hand, you have some really good classic Courage-style humor with the computer and things like that. On the other hand, you have Eustace performing a rap number. And it's not even one of those like, oh, so bad it's good. It's like, old man rapping, that's funny.
How do you do, fellow kids?
Exactly. It felt exactly like that. It's like, I saw a clip of that sequence and I was like, oh, God, why are we doing this?
Why are we still here?
Courage, the 90s cartoon, but come on, man.
And that's the thing, too. Courage was not trying to be, like, hip with the times or anything. But yeah, Courage was not trying to be, like, hip with the times or anything like that. They just let them do whatever. And I feel like that's something that, again, I feel like we won't get in animation or even like entertainment for a very long time. Like just letting creators do whatever they wanted. Even like in big studios, like with Don Bluth and with Disney and that, they just took the creators and let them do what they wanted within reason, you know? And it's something that, you know, it feels like shows like Courage the Cowardly Dog is something that could only happen at that time, I feel. I feel like today you'd have a bunch of executives wanting to say, trying to micromanage it or trying to make it more marketable or trying to make it more social. Exactly. Or like trying to make it more social media friendly or whatnot.
Yeah.
And apparently, like part of the reason that apparently Courage was canceled is because it was very hard to make toys of a pink dog, and you know, but they didn't care. Dilworth didn't care about marketability. He just did whatever he wanted.
Yeah, he's like that one. He's like that one woman director who did that Spider-Man play. I forget her name.
Oh, you mean I know the play you're talking about.
Spider-Man Out of the Dark, I believe, or something like that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, she also did like a sort of She also did sort of like a Beatles sort of thing, where like
interesting.
Turn off the dark.
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. Yeah, that's the one.
But yeah, now it is time for the question of the week. And yeah, we're still going to stick with the Courage the Cowardly Dog because our question is going to be, what is your favorite episode of Courage? And mine, I mean, I have so many answers. I mean, I love the one with the with Courage in New York with the giant cockroach. Like it has so many hilarious moments. Like the part where Eustace and the cockroach are somehow comparing leg hairs. Wow, yours are bigger. I told you. And also, you know, boxers, briefs, and Eustace rips off his clothes, and the cockroach rips off his exoskeleton. So that again, it just is something so funny. And the big imported package that he wanted Courage to get is a squeegee. He uses it to clean the window, and it's all broken and doesn't do anything. And that's what gets him so upset. Things like that. But I think my pick for my favorite episode, it probably was my favorite as a kid, and it definitely still is one of them, is the one with the what's it called? Human Habit Trail, the one with Doc Gerbil. That is just like the whole.
I know that
one. Yes,
wow, do not sing that.
that song was an inside joke in my family for years. Like Doc Gerbil's World. It was like a joke in my family for years.
Oh no! My mom still bugs me with that song.
Oh God! Wow. Well, looks like we all have that in common then.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that's my favorite. Not just because of that, but also, the comedy of it with like it coming back to Courage being so pissed off with cotton in his ears, and also even the little things like the crazy lint lady. Oh, they're doing horrible things in there, but they ain't getting my lint. Things like that, you know.
Ain't getting my lint.
And it also has
out of my chair.
Yeah, exactly. And it also has that beautiful sequence at the end that, as a kid, I never appreciated. You know, as a kid, you're like, oh, this is boring. I want him to get to the comedy. But as an adult, the part where Eustace and and Courage and Doc Gerbil basically hop on jet skis and chase each other to this like operatic wail of a score is really something that's just beautiful, you know. And again, it's in a show like this that just previously had like not 30 seconds ago, like the Courage with cotton in his ears because of a stupid, you know, annoying, repetitive song. And the chase ends with like Doc Squirrel smushed on the ground and laughing hysterically. But yet, for that moment, you know, they actually managed to make a really beautiful, beautiful sequence. And I mentioned a lot of other ones, like the ending, and of course, there's The Mask, which is probably one of the most beautiful stories in animation history.
That was amazing.
It's pretty deep, even for a Courage episode.
Oh, definitely. It's way ahead of its time too. I feel in a lot of ways with that one.
Indeed, yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be my answer for my favorite episode of Courage. Just
the Dr. Ghost Squirrel one.
Yeah, it's probably not even the best one quality wise, but just from like the the feelings it gave me as a kid, it being my favorite. I think that's what I'm going to say. And by the way, Doc Squirrel is voiced Gerbil rather is voiced by Dilworth himself.
Nice.
Oh, well,
but I did not know that either. I actually looked it up, and when I read it, I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
That's pretty cool. Nice.
Yep. So, Angron, what is yours going to be?
Oh, man. There are a lot to choose from, indeed. But hands down, for all the time, my favorite would have to be the Last of the Star Makers episode.
That's a beautiful one.
Yes, it is fucking beautiful. And hands down, the episode I think of the most when I think of Courage. Like, yeah, there's the there's the mask. There's him going up against Robo Courage. There's the perfect episode. There are a bunch of stuff, really. But that one right there is arguably the most wholesome. Like, yeah, oh man. Like, it has a lot of things going for it. It has Eustace getting his just comeuppance for being a greedy son of a bitch. It has Courage basically once again being the hero. It has these it has these 3 freaking Black Ops security guard looking people being all macho and also super thing, but also having a comedic side. Oh man, yeah, I still love love that little gag where like Courage takes the where like Courage has this little puppet baby Star Maker with like a Muppet mouth, and it just like. And one of the guards like coochie coochie coo, and just gets bashed in the head with a spring-loaded freaking boxing glove.
I love stuff like that.
Oh man, yeah, hands down. Other than Courage basically being an absolute bro in this episode, and Muriel being being an activist for this one. The creature for this episode is so adorable and has one of the most tragic backstories this side of the mask. Like, she is no doubt the last of her kind, and it is just so wholesome. So I'm gonna have to say Last of the Starbreakers, hands down.
That is an excellent choice right there. The ending to it too is definitely so beautiful.
Yeah.
So Stryker, what would you have to say is your favorite episode?
Okay, so I remember when I was a kid, I would watch this show a whole bunch. Like, it's another one of those shows. Like, I was a huge Cartoon Network. I was an avid viewer of Cartoon Network when I was a kid.
Same.
This was one of those shows that I would enjoy watching as well. Like, I remember, of course, Doc Gerbil's World.
Yeah, it's
that will never not be. That will never not be in my head whenever I hear Dr. Gerbil.
Yeah. Any episode with Shirley, to be honest.
Oh dang! Remind me.
She's a great character.
Remind me who Shirley was again.
She was the weird green Chihuahua.
Yeah.
She was the
stupid, yes.
Freaking gypsy Chihuahua.
Stupid, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Enough. There's also an episode where Courage legit lays a golden egg, which the fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the one that I remember the most being one that actually frightened me when I was a kid, which was King Ramses' Curse.
Oh yes.
Nice.
Believe it or not, that one never actually frightened me as a kid. I always thought it was just, I think, silly.
Well, actually, it is well known that this, from what I've known, is that this episode did scare a lot of kids.
Oh, hell yeah, absolutely.
I think it's because of the early CGI with Ramses, but
yeah. I was more weirded out by each of the curses when I was a kid, but now I'm just more like, it's just kind of silly.
Yeah, exactly. I can definitely see that.
It's also fun. Yeah, there's also this other episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog called The Great Fusili, where it was like, who's like this puppet master, who's this gator thing voiced by Jim
I
Cummings.
remember that one.
Yep, the great Jim Cummings.
Oh yeah.
That was really good.
The Great Fusilli.
The Great Fusilli. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll have to go with that one because, like, even though like I still enjoy a lot of the later episodes, they just got too weird, even for Courage.
Yeah, I don't think that. I always felt like they kept a similar level of quality.
Yeah, they kept a pretty similar pace going, man.
There was one episode that I remember specifically where like a lot of like characters from like I guess the polar ice caps or even like Antarctica came and took it. Like, wait, no,
the snowman.
The snowman. That's what it was.
Oh yeah,
that was a sequel to the
Snowman
first Snowman one.
Oh, and then there was the episode where what was it? Frogs?
Oh, that was a weird one too.
Control their house.
Yeah, that was a weird one too.
It was weird. I always thought the later episodes were a little weird.
There was also the Louvre episode.
Or the Flan one.
Flan, Tassie Flan.
Yeah, that was a hilarious one too.
So I remember that one vividly. So
this is.
Anyway, yeah, my pick is King Ramses' Curse.
Nice.
Yeah, that is a good one. That is definitely a classic one. I mean, to this day, you still see memes and stuff like, return the slab. What's your offer?
What's your offer?
What's your offer? Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, classic. So, Math, what would you have to say? Is your favorite episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog?
I hate that it's already been said because I had the perfect introduction for it too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, go right ahead. Do it.
You only need one line to know exactly what it is.
Go right ahead.
Return the slab or suffer my curse.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That episode worked so fucking well with
the formula really
because
worked.
they were utilizing how jank early CG was to make
they were also
look as weird and as stupid as he was, and it just worked beautifully with the episode.
Yeah, it also felt like a horror film, pretty much.
Well,
and
it is actually
it definitely
horror.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very much in that cheesy 50s B-movie horror film style that Dilworth just loved to use.
Oh,
with a mix of modern touches here and there.
Guy, the Man in Gauze was a bop. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, that's a hilarious song. I love that. And the fact that is more painful to use to sing Muriel than the flood and the locust. Like, as soon as that song starts, they're screaming, and Eustace, and Courage basically running up to the record player and just smashing it with the bat 5,000 times is hilarious. It's like the world's most annoying song. It's a bop, but it's also
there are plenty of other annoying songs, but
100%.
Yeah.
I also remember like after the third curse, like he just goes, "Oh, come on, man."
I think that was like one of his first curses where he says that actually.
Oh
yeah.
I thought it was the one with it's the first one with the floods. He goes like, "Oh, come on." And he puts his hands on his
man.
head.
I also like the bit where like the locusts are eating the house and like Muriel's cooking, like her life literally depended on it. And it's like a home theme while she's doing it. And it just, it lives rent free in my head sometimes.
Definitely a hilarious moment. Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, that's a really good one. Of course, King Ramses' Curse. That is a classic one for some reasons. So, Jordan, what would you have to say is your favorite one?
My favorite one, I've seen ton. Like the classic of the old style way how the virus was one of the good ones of the weird designs.
The one with the disease juice.
Yeah. Voiced by Arnold Stang, who did a lot of voices for Courage, believe it or not. He did voices. He was the worm in the one with the sun. He was the head of the evil gold hat cult. He did a lot of voices for Courage. And fun fact, he was also the voice of Top Cat. He has a very distinctive voice. If you heard him, you know who he was exactly. Yeah.
Hey, I watched Top Cat when I was a kid.
Yeah, that was him. That was him. Donald Stang.
Yeah,
Courage,
I'm familiar
I think,
with
was one
who
of the
Top
last things
Cat
he
is.
worked on.
I'm sorry, what? What was that, Lud?
That was one of the last things he worked on.
Nice. All right, continue, Jordan.
But my favorite would have to be the tree one, where they find this huge magical tree and it has a weird human face to it, and he gives all like everyone except Eustace everything they wanted. Until Eustace like is so fed up with this stupid tree that everyone's happy and everything that he tries to chop down the tree, and Courage is doing everything in his power to stop Eustace from cutting down this tree.
Yeah.
The final point.
That was a really sad one because the tree has nothing but the tree was nothing but helpful and kind to them, but Eustace was just so jealous of it.
Mm-hmm. And the way how Courage is like sees how he's too late to stop Eustace, and the tree's cut down, and you just see Courage runs up to the tallest place ever in the world, screaming his iconic scream, and the sun cracks. And it's just so heartwarming to see that this thing that made everyone happy except for Eustace, that it's gone. But he's like, don't be sad. You can use my remaining tree branches to cure Muriel, and she'll be fine.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Then Eustace gets his comeuppance by getting the same thing Muriel had. But of course, now there's no tree.
Yeah, so it's just funny how everything bad happens to Eustace. It's just like karma. Like, you are such a total dick to your wife and this dog. You're just gonna get whatever comes back to you. And another one, it's a forgotten episode of Courage, is this weird that Eustace, the whole gang of Courage goes to New York or somewhere, and they find this weird, cool performance dude who's got so much issues until they finally find this giant beating heart in the center of this.
Oh, right. I think I remember that one. Did they have to perform for it or something?
Yeah, try to make him like happy or something until Courage finds out it's his living heart. Like, this weird creature is like, oh, I used to be human until I can't remember how it happened. What caused him to deform in this weird creature, and his heart is just having heartburns and whatever thing.
Oh, dear.
And Courage saves him by getting his heart going again, and then he changes back into his original human form. I'm like, holy God, this is scary but cool at the same time.
Yeah.
It's funny. They tried everything. They tried to make him happy. Even uses like halfway boiled in stomach acid, and you can still see the result. He still has his legs are all cooked.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that episode actually. There's this other episode that apparently it reminds me very much of the Venture Bros, where like there's this guy there's this like disembodied white head from the moon that reminds me of the initial owner of the Guild of Calamitous Intent from Venture Bros, who was apparently just freaking David Bowie in disguise.
I didn't think so. I thought he was a crew member for the show. You mean in Venture Bros? I meant in
Yeah,
Courage.
Venture Bros.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's my favorite. Just the whole thing with the tree and Courage and stuff. That episode.
That's nice.
But that's a classic one too. That's another both really good picks there. So, LuckyEevee, what would you have to say? Is your favorite episode?
I have not watched any Courage episode in years. I could not tell you a single thing about an episode.
Oh dear.
Well, that's all right. No time like the present. So yeah, now it is time for the patent pending Dragoness Scale, where we're going to rank her. And today we're going to rank, of course, Carmen. And now with her, it's interesting because her design is very appealing, especially with, for Dilworth. They definitely made her fierce looking, but yet also, calm in that. And also she has a very, nice sort of personality to her, what we get. And the subversion is really good. But I don't know. I feel like for an 11-minute episode, she got a lot of love. She got a lot of screen time. But if she just had a tiny bit more, she would have really pushed it over the edge. And like I said, the design I don't have a problem with because it's Dilworth and it definitely works out for what he was trying to achieve with the character. But as a whole, I don't think I could give her any higher than See, it's hard because it's just an 11-minute episode, so it's hard to say, oh, she should have had more screen time because it's so short to begin with. So it really is so difficult sometimes with these type of characters. But for my choice, I am going to give her, and I was going to give her a 7, but basically reflecting on how short the actual episode was and how much characterization they gave to her, I'm going to give her an 8, actually. But it's the third week in a row that Dragoness has gotten an 8 for me.
Nice.
Or from me, rather. But yeah.
That's cool.
So, Angron, what would you have to give her?
Okay. The characterization's pretty great for what they accomplished. And again, it's a beast with a bit of a heart of gold. So I won't be too hard. But I'm sorry. It kind of works again. It kind of works against its favor for me personally here. Yeah, it's short. I don't mind that. But the problem is the overall design with the eyes and whatnot. It's not 100% appealing. The character, again, I do appreciate what they were going for with this, but I'm sorry. It's just too uncanny for me to really give it anything higher than a generous 5. Well, actually, being generous would be 5, but being honest, I kind of want to give her a 4 out of 10.
Hey, no problem at all. I can definitely see where you're coming from.
Yeah, there are definitely worse, but yeah, she don't look too great.
Yep, I definitely can see it. So, Stryker, what would you have to give her?
You know what? I'm gonna go for a 7. I thought she was really fun in this episode.
All good.
Nice.
Yep. Anything? Any additional comments or?
Not really, actually. I just thought she was a fun character.
Nice.
All good. So, Math.
Normally, I rate the characters half on appeal and half on personality. This one is slightly different because instead of appeal, I need to go with uniqueness because Dilworth's style is ugly by design. With that said, she is easily one of the most, if not the most, unique design that Dilworth has ever put to pen.
Yeah, very much so.
You could tell her a mile away from any other character that has ever been in Courage.
Yeah, it's pretty unique, all things considered. I might change mine to 5 just to be a little generous.
You got it. I'll change it.
So yeah, with that said, she gets top points for being unique and being a great design overall. She doesn't, other than having a really great singing voice, she doesn't really do much. She's more the MacGuffin of the episode than anything else.
Indeed.
So I have to just give her a 7.
Hey, all good. So, Jordan, what would you have to give her?
Jordan,
you there? All right, we'll go back to her.
It's Dr. Ghost Squirrel. It's Dr. Ghost Squirrel.
It's all good.
Hello.
So, yeah, we'll just get back to her. And Evie, what would you give Carmen?
5 out of 10. I'd give her higher if she wasn't Cyclopean.
All right, I can kind of see that. I feel like this.
When looking for images of a police pass by Courage catalog, otherwise you'll get lipstick.
Okay, yeah,
Nice.
I figured as much. But yeah, I'll wait for Jordan to come back for a couple minutes, and if not, if you enjoyed this episode, or if you want to tell us how you would do a Courage the Cowardly Dog revival, you can feel free to email us at fierydiscourse@outlook.com, or visit us on Twitter at twitter.com/fierydiscourse. Next time, we'll be talking about the 1984 Super Friends, the Legendary Superpowers Show episode, Island of the Dinosaurs. This is definitely one of the more obscure things we've talked about. Not so much obscure, but definitely not something on the radar when you think of, something to do with dragonesses or female dinosaurs or whatnot. I'm only covering this for 2 reasons. Number 1, it has a female character transforming into a dinosaur-like creature. The second one is because Batman is in it, and Batman in this episode is voiced by none other than the great Adam West. Yeah, they actually got him to play Batman in this.
Nice. Yeah,
unfortunately, they did not get Burt Ward to play Robin, but can't have everything.
Dang it.
But yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, just to see Adam West Batman is going to be really interesting to talk about that.
Oh man, it's going to be honestly there's another Super Friends episode that inspired a literal green text series that I'm doing right now, which
yeah, we can talk a little bit about that too with the other transformation stuff they did with the
yes. I also did a bunch of art
because they did quite a they did quite a lot of them, and we'll definitely discuss that in our discussion of the episode at large. But yeah, until next time, that'll be next week's episode, and until then, take care.
Later.
Adios.
Peace. Have a fun time. Adios.